Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the biggest Rick head on YouTube, and this is the channel where me seeks out all the Easter eggs and hidden details in Rick and Morty. Episode 5 of Season 5 is now out, and throughout this video we're going to be raising hell with our hell-raising dudes night out. The entry is called Amortycan Grickfitti, which is a play on the film American Grafitti, directed by George Lucas. Starring Harrisson Ford, this movie came out 4 years before the pair worked on Star Wars together, and it has a lot of things in common with the episode that we see. The movie takes place in 1962, and it chronicles the last night of a group before they begin their lives as grown-ups. This sort of mirrors what we see, as it's a night out with Rick and Jerry, alongside some devilish friends. Now there's a lot of occult and significant imagery throughout the episode. After opening on a shot of Rick's ship parked on the drive and Beth's car in front of the house, we cut to the inside to see Rick and Jerry getting ready for the night out. Beth asks Jerry if he can look after the kids, as someone's played Barry White over the racetrack speakers and now there's a 7-horse pregnancy. There are actually 14 horses typically in a race, so 7 of them got pregnant whilst the other 7 were the ones making them pregnant. I'm not going to explain the birds and the bees to you though. Now Barry White was also a soul singer known for making music that people smash to more times than you should smash that like button. Rick unpacks a box of occult items, and these include a 3-eyed skull, an arm missing a finger, and a pyramid with a face on it. The first is a reference to the third eye, which is typically thought to be found if someone has psychic abilities. Beyond that, this also has links to Hinduism, namely the third eye of Shiva, and a skull with one was even uncovered in a Hindu temple near Madurai. The Ancient One also touched the position of Doctor Strange's third eye in his solo film before he was sent through the multiverse, and this idea of a third eye has a lot of ties with religion and spirituality. The second 2 items I'm not 100% sure on, but I think the first may be a nod to either a monkey's paw or potentially the hand of glory. The latter may be a nod to the all-seeing eye, which we've seen take a lot more prevalence with conspiracy theories surrounding the Illuminati. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure on them, so let me know below what they pull from if you know. Cheers. Now there's also a skin goblet, which typically in witchcraft are used to drink blood from. Rick says he likes Jerry, but as we learn, he knows he's lame, and he's just taking him out with demon spawn because they enjoy suffering. Summer is put in charge of babysitting Morty, and though she's initially against him bringing people over, she changes her mind when she learns that it's gonna be Bruce Chutback. I was wondering if that might be tied in with the Chud from last week, but as we learn, there's no relation because Chud and the word Chut aren't connected, and I'm a moron. Now Bruce is just transferred from another school, and they both have to win him over before he learns how lame they are due to Morty being a grandpa's boy and Summer shampooing her pubes. She farts in his face and calls him a sexist if he doesn't like it. And yeah, this is kind of the juvenile humour that I've come to expect from Rick and Morty. Now Rick and Jerry warp using the portal gun, which was thought to be missing from this season. A lot of people suspected that this confirmed the families we were following were all decoys. As we learned, decoys weren't allowed to travel into space, and because of the missing portal gun in the other 4 episodes, many thought that every single family had just been a copy. Now this at least confirms that this is the real Rick and Morty, and it's a nice little addition to the episode. Using a Hell Cube, they summon in some demons that are clearly playing on the Cenobites from the film series Hellraiser. Led by Pinhead, these monstrous creatures were called forth through correctly aligning a puzzle box, and they sought after delights that involved removing the skin from people and torturing them by playing the most boring breakdowns on YouTube. So thanks for the views, guys. Now there were lots of pins and needles as well as skin being pulled back throughout those films, and the monsters are clearly based on them. We learn that Jerry has planned for some karaoke at the bar Fantasma, which is actually Spanish for ghost. Turns out that Rick has been doing this every Friday after selling them some faulty skin hooks, and they head inside after hearing they have the entire Smash Mouth catalogue, who you may know for their song Rockstar. Hey now, if you're enjoying this video, we'd also massively appreciate the thumbs up, and hit the subscribe button as we are doing weekly videos on the show, and you definitely want to be around here for the crap puns and even crapper vids. Which means they're good. Now after the title screen we cut to Bruce Chutback arriving to his own theme song, and his pros include that he hasn't done anything embarrassing yet, and that he also has no credit, which is perfect credit. Morty plays some interdimensional cable, And we can see that on the screen is the website for Story Train, which first appeared in the episode Never Ending Morty. Conducted by Story Lord, the train can pass through different stories in space, and it's popped up from time to time in the series. They then watch Olympic diving with bad swimmers, which has divers who can't swim pulling off high level jumps. Now I love it where they just do stupid stuff like this, and hopefully we can get an interdimensional cable episode this season at some point. Realizing that Chirpback is playing things close to the chest, they decide to touch Rick's stuff, but before doing this, a password protected hologram appears and says "Nuh-uh-uh," which is of course a callback to Jurassic Park when Dennis Nedry said the same thing. Bruce goes outside to see Rick's ship up close, and this gets a big character arc in this episode in which the sentient ride becomes good friends with Morty and Summer. On it we can see the bumper stickers which say I penis symbol Schleemies, which we learned an interdimensional cable to were used to make Plumbus. There's also one for Glorto 86B, but I can't remember for the life of me exactly what this is or if it's even been in the show. Years of filling my head with Marvel stuff has rendered me useless and I apologize. Anyway, Bruce says it's like a spaceship made of garbage, and this is literally the case as the lights are just torches taped down and even the engines are made of trash cans. Summer tries to get in but the defense system kicks up, which Morty tries to disable by saying defense systems offline. The ship makes a very snarky remark over this as it wouldn't be very secure, and I think it might be a nod to Batman Forever, namely when Riddler broke into the Batcave and the defense systems started up all the computers and brought the Batmobile up even though there was an intruder. Hey, maybe it's not all useless Marvel knowledge, eh? And there's some useless DC knowledge in there too. Now Summer brings up the Keep Summer Safe episode in which she was stuck inside the ship whilst Rick went out to do stuff. Due to the defense system, she started a war, and it's a nice little callback to that episode. We then see the post-box bit from the intro play out, in which Summer smashes some sentient ones with a baseball bat. They also travel through a black hole, which I think is meant to mimic what happens in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 when the characters go through too many warp points. Over the top of this, Beth goes to the bar, and we see Jerry singing the song Oh Yeah by Yellow, which you might know from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. In here we can see they also sell IP Ape, which is a play on IPA, and foamies which Rick drank at the start of the Planetina episode. Beth tells the Cenobites exactly what she thinks of them, but she ends up joining them on their wild night out. Now Dan Harmon said that the entire episode started with a sort of dinner for schmucks angle where there was someone you loved but they were so cringy that it pretty much takes over the entire night. This is reflected in both groups who are having their own nights of trying to save embarrassment, and it makes for quite a fun episode in my opinion. Now in space, the group fly amongst an asteroid belt and race what I want to say is a scrotum pod racer. I don't know, but the engines pretty much look like that, and even the pilot looks like he has balls for a face. Now it turns out that the ship has been recording their entire night so that it can blackmail them, and we see a moment in which Morty urinated against the windshield. This is now her joyride, and she flies through space pulling an entire solar system behind her, which draws the attention of a Galactus-esque planet eater. In case you don't know who this is, it's basically a Marvel character that flies through space devouring planets, and he's one of the most fearsome villains in the comics. Maybe it is all useless Marvel knowledge. Now moving on, the ship also makes short work of him, and they travel to a drive-in in which we see a robot waitress that I think might be based on Rosie from the Jetsons. A change morpher bangs into the ship, and the pair start flirting, but the latter initially pulls out all of her weapons, which are exactly the same as the ones we saw on display in the aforementioned summer episode. The change morpher is obviously based on Transformers, but instead of an Autobot or Decepticon hand symbol, they have one on them which typically means hang loose. Also, I forgot to mention that shut is slang for a vagina. Anyway, they decide to help her lose her virginity, and Morty slips it in that he's had sex with his doorknob. Back at Phantasma, Beth tells the story of the time that Jerry crapped his pants after eating too much soup, and he says that he did this soup poop because the soup was warm and it was cold, which makes sense I guess. Now he also says, my wife, which is calling back to the Borat impression everyone used to do in the noughties, that he's still doing because he's a loser. Know who else is a loser? My wife. Got you, sucker. Now in the bathroom, Jerry overhears the Hellspawn slagging him off, and in here we can see graffiti that says the flesh curtains rule, which has been scribbled out to say really suck. I'm guessing that one of them wrote this and the vandalism caused pain to someone which gave them pleasure, but then they also wrote really suck over it, which gave them pain, which in turn gave them pleasure. Try to figure that all out, but there's also a Wu-Tang one, which is an American mustard. However, it is riffing on the rap group the Wu-Tang Clan. We also see one for Beryllium Zeppelin, which is of course a play on Led Zeppelin. Beryllium was actually used to make Zeppelins, whereas lead meant that they would go down and give people a quick stairway to heaven, eh? Having that? Now they call Jerry a Mooncalf, which basically means a foolish moron. Elsewhere we watch the ship disguised as a change morpher trying to lose that V card, but after she's exposed, she ends up murdering everyone and they go on the run. After ruining the night by bumming them out, the fleshlings decide to make their own fun, and they too kill everyone in the bar and take Jerry to hell. This mirrors the trio being chased by the police, and Rick and Beth wear S&M clothes and travel to the underworld. I love how most of the dialogue here is based around things being painful, which gives those in hell pleasure, and there's some hilarious back and forth between all the characters. Turns out they wanted them to come down there so that they could come down there, and yeah, I think the doublespeak going on just makes the scene so bad, and yet so good. Rick refers to it as Adam's family BS at one point, and they of course took pleasure from the bad things in life. Morty, Summer and Bruce get assigned a public defender, who they say is Allison Hannigan, but no relation. The ship has shoved a chip in the back of her head to control her, and she wants them to pin it on Shutback, but they say it's not his fault and that they just projected their insecurities onto him. This is of course reflected in the ship, who then drops Plan B, which is a jailbreak, and she completely destroys the prison whilst Rick launches his own escape plan to kill the demons with genuine sincerity. Rick admits he loves Jerry, and this powers up the weapon, which allows them to wipe out the Cenobites, including one who has mouse traps clamping down on his nipples. The ship makes it back home and washes the smell of adventure off itself, which Rick almost becomes aware of, but Jerry farts and takes the blame for it. Back in the house, everyone gets to keep what happened secret, but Chut says he can't decide whether Summer and Morty are lame, and he says that he needs to feel it out at school. Had he stayed with them, he would have had some friends, but instead he tries to hang out with the cool kids, namely Trisha, who judge him for wearing the same pants 2 days in a row. Morty and Summer stand at the back staring at his humiliation, and they call him Bruce Chut Pants because high school is rough. Juxtaposing the song at the start that introduced him, he gets one calling him his nickname, and he walks home to get beaten by the post boxes, who Summer of course attacked earlier in the episode. That wraps it all up, and I'm sure there's some Easter eggs in there that I missed, so definitely let me know below if you spotted any. Now as for my thoughts on the episode, I thought it was way better than last week. I know some people out there thought that that was the worst one they'd ever made, and even the creative team at the end said they pretty much phoned it in. I didn't think it was that bad, but I didn't think it was anything amazing either. However, this felt a lot more in line with the kind of thing I want to see in Rick and Morty, and I had a lot of fun with it. Just in general, I just love references to horror stuff, and when the show goes off into an occult direction, especially at Jerry's expense, I really have fun with it. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, so make sure you leave them below, and as a thank you you'll be entered into a competition where we're giving away 3 MCU box sets on the 30th of July. All you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you then message me on Twitter at Heavy Spoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the last episode of Loki, which will be linked on screen right now. We've gone over all the Easter eggs and pointed out some of the cool details in it, so it's definitely worth watching if you want to know more. With that out of the way, thank you for sitting through the video. I've been Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.